Hello, I'm Dara Bunjon. I am the food enthusiast here at J Moore Living. I'm a food writer, food stylist, PR maven, and a frustrated baker. Those of you joining us today live, feel free to drop your questions into the comment box, and you'll see me turn my head on occasion to check time to time to see if there are any questions or comments for our guest. I want to welcome our sponsor, the Pearlstone Center. Pearlstone offers an environmentally friendly and full-service hospitality. Their beautiful facilities and natural surroundings create the optimal setting for memorable events and group gatherings. As we wrap up Hunger Awareness Month, I wanted to highlight one of the many who make a difference in helping resolve the hunger issues. Adam Lowy of Move for Hunger is just such a person. Our conversation is about food and how to get it into the hands and mouths of those who need it. Let me welcome Adam.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Adam, what's on your plate today?
Oh man, well, this week I am in Austin, Texas, at a conference. So there are going to be a lot of tacos and barbecue on my plate today, and unfortunately hotel food, which is usually not my favorite thing.
Well, agreed. On a rare occasion, you might hit something okay, but tacos, there are good tacos and there's bad tacos. So hopefully they're good ones in your future.
I sure hope so.
Let me kick off the conversation. What is Move for Hunger and what inspired, excuse the pun that's coming, what moved you to do something about hunger?
Absolutely. And I appreciate all puns coming from anybody. I founded Move for Hunger 13 years ago, actually. My family has owned a moving company in New Jersey for about 100 years. My great-grandfather started it. And growing up on a moving truck, we saw that when people moved, they threw away a whole bunch of stuff, food, clothing, furniture. And what bothered us was the perfectly good, non-perishable food either getting left behind or thrown in the trash. So we started asking the question, do you want to donate your food when you move? And very quickly, we learned that people want to do good. You have to make it super easy. And today we've mobilized more than 1,100 moving companies across all 50 states and Canada, not only to help their customers donate their food when they move, but also really to mobilize these transportation resources to help deliver food to communities in need. And it's been an incredible journey thus far. I've learned quite a bit, around the issues of food insecurity, the fact that 38 million Americans, including 1 in 6 children, go to bed hungry each and every night. All at the same time, 35% of the food produced in the United States goes to landfills. So it's not that we don't have enough food, it's that we're throwing it away. And that's really how we launched this movement to ensure that less food is getting thrown away. And today I'm proud to share that we've delivered enough food to food banks to provide more than 25 million meals to individuals in need.
Right, I have your website here. You've moved or picked up 29 million pounds of food.
Yes.
Within your organization. Now, it isn't just picking up the food. Let's say that New Orleans, needed food because of hurricane, whatever. Your group is there to move food in as best they can. Am I correct?
We do our best. So, disaster relief wasn't always, the main thing that we did, and it still isn't. But, we basically have this network of trucks and drivers and incredible partners that are willing to lend a hand and lend their support. And really the work we do is a lot of collaboration between large companies and other food banks and smaller food pantries on the ground. So when hurricanes or earthquakes or disasters strike, we definitely are working our hardest to ensure we're able to capture food and get it to those communities that are affected as quickly as possible.
It isn't just getting the donated food and moving it to a food kitchen or a shelter or any place, a food bank, that there are other things that you do at Move for Hunger. And can you give us some idea of the other services that you provide?
Absolutely. So number one, really trying to create education and awareness about the issues of hunger and food waste. So if you go to the website, moveforhunger.org, there's a really great section where you can find out and really educate yourself. You go to the Learn tab up there, and you're just going to find tons of articles, infographics that you can share on social media, really digestible content that will help people understand these issues and help you share it with your friends and family and others. Number two, for either individuals or large companies that are looking for team building opportunities and employee engagement, we put together a ton of really creative ways and simple ways that we're able to engage, people. And we've done this for small groups and schools, all the way up to large companies holding conferences and trade shows. So those are some other ways. And then finally, I think during the pandemic, a lot of us saw on the news so much food rotting in the fields, right, of farms across the country. It was one of those images that, I saw on the news in the heart of COVID, and it just kind of made me stop in my tracks. For the past, 10, 12 years, we had been really just focused on non-perishable food recovery. But seeing all this food go to waste really made me think about our food system. And really, I'd say the biggest challenges to food recovery on the fresh side are transportation and refrigeration. And while we had transportation, we found that a lot of times people are trying to figure out, how do you get food to a refrigerator, whether that be in the food bank or in the grocery store or whatever it might be. We're trying to flip that script and say, how do we bring refrigeration to the source of the food? And today we've been setting up mobile refrigeration units on farms. We set up a mobile refrigeration unit in Rhode Island just last week that's going to be able to capture 3,000 pounds of fresh fish weekly to distribute to local pantries out there in partnership with some fishermen and other organizations. So it's been very exciting to think about the food system that way as well.
Well, non-perishable, perishable. We were talking right before we went on air that I don't think people realize how much people have been affected through COVID, loss of jobs, everything else like that. Your neighbors who you think are doing fine might not be.
People don't talk about food insecurity all that much. It's not a situation that I think anybody wants to find themselves in. I think when COVID hit, you had people that probably were donating to the food bank in the past and now found themselves laid off. And just kind of in that impossible decision of, do I pay this month's rent or do I put food on the table for myself or my family? Or with the rising costs of healthcare, rents, food, this even just the pandemic plus the war plus the recession, I think things are going to get a little bit worse before they get better, unfortunately. And hunger really truly affects every single community. I mentioned, I grew up in New Jersey, home of Bruce Springsteen and Bon Jovi and the Jersey Shore. And you look around and you don't see the stereotypical poverty or homelessness or food lines, but all around you, there were people struggling. And it was really my first trip to the food bank when we started Move for Hunger 13 years ago, where I learned about the issues. And I said, man, if we were able to feed people by essentially just doing our jobs as movers, what happens when you get others involved? And it's that education piece that I think is so critical. Yes, there are 38 million Americans struggling, but that also includes like 1 in 4 veterans of the Afghanistan and Iraq wars. African-American communities face hunger at twice the rate of their white and non-Hispanic counterparts. So it's everybody, and unfortunately minorities are seeing this, are being hit harder by the issues of food insecurity than other populations.
And especially in urban areas, there are food deserts where they just can't even have access to the quality food that they need to have a healthy diet.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've made your mark. I'm just trying to see here, Forbes 30 under 30 in food and drink in 2014. You've been recognized, and Move for Hunger is a growing charity, and you have grown it so much, but there's more growth to be done. What do you see in 3 to 4 years? Where do you want to see Move for Hunger?
Oh man, I think we really are looking to just expand the work that we're doing around fresh food, and also expand our network of partners that's able to help us recover this food. Like I said, fresh food is brand new for us. And already this year, we've been able to deliver more than 800,000 pounds of fresh food to local food banks across this country. Just last month, over the span of 3 weeks, we recovered more than 250,000 pounds of bananas at a port in Los Angeles that were perfectly good, but the grocery store didn't want them anymore for whatever reason. Stories like that happen every single day.
So it's your connections out there at the docks, where these places where it comes in, if something's coming in, rather than going to waste costs, we'll move it.
Sometimes it's the connection at the dock and the port. Sometimes it's a connection directly with the company. Who's the company that's producing that food? Who are the farmers? We talked to a farmer last week that basically their sweet potatoes, had some air pockets in them. They're still perfectly good, but the grocery store didn't want them. 1 million pounds of sweet potatoes. And basically this farmer either said, we need someone to come and glean these and get them to a food bank, or we've got to till them back under and they're just going to go to waste. And, we weren't able to collect all 1 million pounds, but I think we picked up about 40,000 pounds of sweet potatoes last week that were able to be distributed to a local church who then organized everything and did a distribution that day. And those are the stories of organizations working together to ensure not only that food isn't being wasted, but that the people that truly need it are getting it. There's no reason that anyone should go hungry in this country with the amount of food we have.
No, they shouldn't. It's access and finances that are in there. Someone listening to the show, anything, they can contact you through moveforhunger.org. How can they volunteer? You can donate on site. There's a lot that you can do. I do want to take a moment to let my sponsor have a moment here, and we'll be right back with you. Our
Pearlstone Conference and Retreat Center offers environmentally friendly, full-service, farm-to-table hospitality. Our beautiful facilities and natural surroundings make the optimal setting for memorable events and group gatherings. PearlstoneCenter.org.
That was fast. And thank you. Any current challenges that you've been going through at Move for Hunger?
Yeah, I think we're facing a lot of the same challenges that most companies and organizations are facing right now, right? We're coming off of basically a pandemic where prior to COVID, we were all together in one place, and now we're remote and we're adjusting to that. I think that because we're going into a recession right now, people are tightening their belts and maybe aren't being quite as generous as they were in the past from donations. So we're trying to get more creative in terms of how we're able to raise money to support our efforts. And actually September is Hunger Action Month. So you can always visit the website and visit moveforhunger.org/donate to make a donation and support our cause to feed more communities. And I'd say the industries that we work with, if you look at supply chain, right, all you hear in the news these days are supply chains are backed up, there's backlogs, there's issues. Well, a lot of that is because of employment issues too. So there's not enough drivers for the trucks that are out there. And when we rely on companies that have trucks and drivers, it becomes challenging for us to be able to go out and get that food as well. So we're very fortunate to have some of the top companies in the nation, like Mayflower, Allied Van Lines, National Van Lines, really working with us to ensure we're able to kind of get that food to where it needs to be. But we need more. We need more companies to get involved. We need more donors. We need more people and companies to take action and let us know where there is food available. We've got the trucks. We need the food. So, if there are any food companies listening in today, we'd love to work with you to ensure you don't have to throw any food away either.
Right. As you mentioned, September is Hunger Awareness Month. And I think if they donate on your site, that the donations are doubled.
Yes. So if you make a donation for Hunger Action Month on the website, our donations are generously being matched up to $5,000 from our partners at Altair Global Relocation. We're very grateful for that. So a very easy way to feed a lot of people pretty easily.
So let's see. I want to make sure members who may also volunteer to host and assist the community food drives. Volunteers can participate in marketing campaigns. Anything and everything is being used and taken advantage of. Marketing skills, you want to donate that, contact Move for Hunger.
And we have great internships available too. So even if you're a young person looking to build up your resume, moveforhunger.org/intern, you can find information about our internships online as well.
That's great. What is Team Move for Hunger?
Oh man, I love Team Move for Hunger. So for runners and walkers out there, it's a great way to turn your miles into meals, help raise money, show your support of the cause. We are, one of the charities for many races across the country. And even this year, for the first time, we got a number of spots to the New York City Marathon. So we've got people running in the New York City Marathon, the Big Sur Marathon, the Marine Corps Marathon. So, but it doesn't need to be a marathon. You could be running your very first 5K, which I did a few years ago, and I didn't die. I survived my very first 5K. I didn't think I would make it. So anybody that is looking to run for a cause, especially one that's feeding communities, you can find more information, on our website, and just find the Team Move for Hunger section.
And just remind people that you can reach out. The site is moveforhunger.org. It should be streaming up. I'm not quite seeing it, but then that's technology for you. But, we've said it enough. It's not real hard. And the concept of movers taking product, and especially with home sales being insane, it must have been huge number of products that were made available to you.
Yeah. And you know what? It's not just home sales and movers, right? We have a whole nother program working with multifamily apartments, because 74% of folks move without a moving company, right? They're moving on their own. Sometimes they're renting, a U-Haul or something. So we are currently working with some of the leaders in the multifamily housing space, Greystar, Equity Residential, Bell Partners, FPI, and collectively we're working with 600,000 apartment units. And when their residents are moving out, they get a Move for Hunger food collection bag where they can donate their food. We've got an awesome national partner called Court, who picks that food up and delivers it to local food banks in those communities as well. It's
pretty amazing. And I think people the reality of it is, maybe one day you died because of a holiday, whatever it is, you've gone a day without hunger. Can you imagine a family sitting there looking at a loaf of white bread and that's all they have?
It's a challenge. Food costs have gone up tremendously, and we're not going to see that slow down, at least throughout the remainder of this year. We have food here, but even things that are happening overseas, like this war in Ukraine, that affects our food prices as well, and the ways that the supply chain is running. So thinking about how you budget for yourself, how you not only get enough food to feed yourself. You mentioned it earlier when you were talking about food deserts. It's one thing to be able to have access to food, but not everyone has access to healthy food. And a lot of times folks that are food insecure find themselves overweight or with obesity issues. Because sure, you can go out and get fast food, for 3 meals a day, 5 days a week, but you can't find an apple. You can't find a dozen eggs. And that is the reality for a lot of Americans in this country.
Well, just to remind people, it's Hunger Awareness Month. If you got that loose change in your pocket or that credit card, moveforhunger.org. The money will be doubled. And do your good deed for the day. And also be aware. I mean, just when we see people in the streets, it's mind-boggling. Now we're going to go to some lighter subject. But before we forget, moveforhunger.org. My usual questions towards the end of the show. You were forewarned. Okay. All right, Adam Lowy of Move for Hunger. What was your best bite this week?
Oh, man. So I mentioned I'm in Austin, Texas this week at the Southwest Movers Association's annual conference. And I got off the airplane and went straight to a little local taco haunt and had some carnitas tacos. And they were amazing. They were everything I could have hoped for and more. And I'm pretty sure it's because in Texas, they just know how to make a tortilla, and we just don't know how to do that on the East Coast. It's very sad, but out here, I get to just eat handfuls of tortillas and be happy forever.
Yeah, but they can't make a Jersey sub.
They can't make a sub. They can't make a bagel. They can't make a slice of pizza. So we everywhere you go, there are different foods, and it's wonderful.
Right.
I'm very fortunate to have been able to travel around the country a bit and sample a little bit of everything.
Right. If you could wake up tomorrow morning with a new talent, what would it be?
I think I would like to be an amazing graphic designer. I have a graphic designer on my team that I'm just like constantly envious about. I will say, here's what I'm thinking. And then all of a sudden she makes it magically appear. And I can't do that. And I would love to be able to have those skills.
Yeah, it's great to have somebody visualize what you're saying and be able to put it out on paper or design it. All right. If you could give your 18-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't stress about the things that are not in your control. It took me a little while to realize that, but there's always something that might go wrong or not, move in the direction that you were hoping it to be. But if you can't control it, stressing about it will not make it any better. Pivot quickly and move forward.
If you can't change it, move on. No pun intended, but
we'll take it.
And we said that you like to cook. So what was your epic culinary fail?
My failure, I had a failure just last week, actually. I was making a vegetable risotto with my wife, and we were putting everything in. Everything looked great. I was tasting it throughout. I was doing all the right things. And then at the very end, I went to put the cheese in, and I didn't look or smell the cheese, and the cheese was bad and spoiled, and I ruined that risotto. Had to dump the whole thing. There was no salvaging. And then I took another hour and made another risotto. So I still got the end product that I wanted, and I felt horrible about wasting food. But that is why it's so important when you're cooking at home to be tasting things and to be smelling things and to be looking at those things, because you don't want a huge error like I just had. And the fact of the matter is, the average American family of four wastes $1,600 worth of food annually. So one of the best things that I can encourage people to do is think about the food that you have in your home and think about ways that you can be freezing or repurposing, or not just going by the best by, use by, sell by date labels that are on there. Because if you're looking to save some money and also get creative with your cooking, try to be less wasteful. And I guarantee you will be able to come up with some brand new recipes that maybe you hadn't tried in the past.
Right. And I can recommend the people to check online. Canned goods that have sell-by dates, they're usually good beyond that.
Well beyond that.
The other thing, fresh meats, if they say sell by a certain date, it's usually correct. And you want to keep it refrigerated or properly stored. That was a great answer. A final question. What didn't I ask you, Adam, that I should have?
I think you did say it, but I'm going to reinforce it. Please, please, please visit moveforhunger.org. and take action, not just this month for Hunger Action Month, but we need your support all year round. Whether you want to sign up to hold a food drive, make a donation, especially this month where your donation is matched by Altair Global, or you just want to get involved and learn about the issues, you can find all that information and more on moveforhunger.org.
Terrific. And I think we've all learned a little bit more. We thought we knew it, but we really didn't. So we thank you for coming on. We thank you for doing the work that you have done and created and fed so many people. All the best to continued success and growth and feeding more people, Adam. Thank you for your time and joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Before I forget, everyone, for those of you celebrating the Jewish New Year, Lashana Tova, for me and J More Living. Next week's show, our guest will be Molly Gilbert, author of the hit cookbook, Sheet Pan Suppers. She joins us to talk about her new book, Sheet Pan Sweets, Simple, Streamlined Dessert Recipes. She's the founder of the food blog, Dunk and Crumble. She is a graduate of the French Culinary Institute, now part of the Institute of Culinary Education. She has enjoyed various roles as a cooking instructor, private chef, and a recipe tester. She was a recipe tester in the kitchen at Savoir magazine, and she's mom to 3, and she lives in Seattle. It should be really great. I'm going to try out. There is a sheet pan olive oil bread that I'm going to make for the holidays. And I'm looking forward to trying that out, and we'll talk about that next week. Again, Lashana Tova to those of you celebrating, wishing you a very sweet year. If you need to reach me, you can reach me at the email food@jmoreliving.com or Instagram. My Instagram is @DaraCooks. All shows are immediately archived in video form on JMore's Facebook page and jmoreliving.com's website. Feel free to dig into the past shows, listen when talking, runs, or even your drives. You don't have to watch me, just listen. The material's great. The guests have been terrific. We truly appreciate when you share our show with friends and family. That's great. It helps us grow. As always, be kind. You see someone smile, say hello. It brightens everybody's day, even yours. As always, may your plates remain full.